yesterday, as we're recording yesterday, I got an email that I had to like submit a photo for my student ID card at Oxford. And so I wake up like in the morning, and this is before I go to the gym. Like I go to the bathroom, like I shave, I get in the shower, do my hair, whatever, put on like a shirt and a quarter zip, and then I try to like control all the lighting conditions in my room, right? So I close the curtains, close everything, and just have these 3 lights on. These lights are like they're more warm than like strong lighting that you would need for a professional photograph. So then I'm thinking, okay, if I connect my computer to the monitor and put on a white screen at full brightness, that could be like the backlight. Or I could just use my laptop. And then I use like portrait mode on the phone and that like did some like studio shit. Basically I took like a million photos and all of them were burst. And then I had to look through like all of them to find a picture. And then when I submitted the picture, I was like, okay. But I was not as happy with the picture as I initially was when I finally picked one. But it took me 2 hours. Like my day was delayed because it took me 2 hours sitting in a quarter zip in a shirt and shorts, sitting in this shirt and take a picture. And I had brought down the suitcase because I needed something to like to tripodify my phone. So I brought out the suitcase and I extended the handle and then I put a box to lean against the handle and then put my phone on the box. And that was my studio photography session yesterday. And then I went to the gym twice, so I made up for it. I went in the morning, well, like in the morning after I did this, and then later that evening I went again. So I think it was a super productive day.
Why didn't you call a friend to take your picture?
It was like 8 a.m., 9 a.m. And it was more fun this way. I could take as many. If I had a friend, they would just get frustrated with the number of pictures that they would have to take. And this way, also, then I could also face myself. I could also look at it and stuff.
Okay.
It was as controlled as can be.
You set it as your LinkedIn.
Oh yeah, that's I put it there too.
I happened to see it this morning. I didn't realize it came out yesterday. But I opened your profile today. I can't remember why. I think it was like a mutual connection or something. I saw the picture. I was like, there's been a really long time when there wasn't a picture. And I'm looking at this thing, and immediately I'm like, oh my god, why are your eyes doing that thing?
What thing?
Like,
What are my eyes doing?
Like, they're not open the way they're usually open. They're a little bit like squinted. It could be that you're tired. It could be that you're just conscious that you're taking a picture. It could be like a bunch of factors.
Mm-hmm.
But it came off. I don't even know how to describe it. But it was interesting.
I'll say that way. Thanks for telling me.
No, you could. It's better than nothing.
Well,
it is much better.
It came off like what?
I guess like you're going for something. Maybe that's what you're going for.
Going for what?
Like you were wanting to come off a certain way. I don't know if you wanted to seem. This may sound ridiculous. I don't know, but educated, or if you were trying to look neutral, if you're kind of trying to look, I don't know. But yeah, okay. That's nice. I'm confused. It seems counterintuitive to block out natural light.
No, because it's coming in from the side.
Yeah.
It's gonna create a shadow. You need to like have like a direct light that is opposing where you're taking the picture from. So then there's no shadow. Also because it needs to be against the white background.
Did you test it to see there was a shadow?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just lighting physics. Light comes from the side. First of all, only one side of your face is gonna be like lit a certain way, and the other side is gonna be lit a different way. That's why in a studio, it's only one light.
Yeah, but in terms of lighting, in terms of for your face, it was perhaps not the most complimentary for what you sacrificed. by the light shadow that I imagine would come out from
It wasn't even that
your
sunny yesterday. I don't think it would have added anything. Okay, cool. What are we talking about today?
Debating and writing.
Writing. Yeah, debating and writing. Writing and debating. Yeah. Yes, how did this come about?
You were watching debates.
Oh yeah. I was in a phase of watching Jubilee 20v1s and other things. Oh, Oxford Union debates, and I think Cambridge also has one. And also unused debates. Those were funny. But and I was like, I feel like people don't do this, or at least as much as I think should be done. Or if so, not in like the correct way. Correct way as in like not debating to prove that you're right, but debating to hear like another perspective on a specific topic. And I don't mean like just a formal debate where it's one person versus another person or like three speaker series. I just mean like general discussion within your close circles about things that you find important or close to you, or maybe not even important or not close to you, but you were just curious about um enough to like talk about it. I guess what I'm saying is having more discussions where you're not all just saying the same thing. And that might be harder because if you're all on the same side of the internet, then maybe you will have all the same opinion. But then I feel like you need to challenge why you have that opinion. Like it should be an opinion that you have taken rather than have been given, you know? And that was basically my takeaway from it. And then I think we discussed that for a minute. We're like, would it be a good pod? What were your thoughts on it?
Well, we proceeded to have a mini debate about this type of debate that you're talking um, about being more politically active, politically involved, and politically informed.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and it really cemented what you're trying to get across when I left with a somewhat like unsettling feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Not negative, probably positive if I had to classify it, I guess. But just a little bit of like discomfort, and I guess that's the important thing to have, right? That's the thing that I assume more people avoid, but to a fault. That this isn't being had enough, right?
Why do you think that is?
Oh, I mean, multitudes of reasons, mainly probably being like the whole non-confrontational thing,
Mm.
and not wanting to like cause trouble or again cause conflict, get someone, I don't know, get someone to think a certain way about you, I suppose. And then I like when you first brought up that it's necessary to have to one either like cement your own opinion for yourself better or to become like more receptive to new ideas, to new opinions, and have that like change yours, inform yours, etc. And on top of that, all the other great things about these quote unquote debate discussions.
Mm. Yeah, it's weird because I feel like, yeah, in person it's more non-confrontational. I think the way society is, but I feel like online very much the opposite, where everything seems to be opposing. But it's in that destructive manner of like not hearing anything else except what you say or what you believe. And so it's a thing of like you cherry pick like whatever information is out there to that subscribes to your worldview. But the good thing about when it happens in person, then because the probably most common way would be through like people that you know. Sometimes it could be with strangers, but a lot of the times it is with people that you know. And then it's like, sure, you share the same worldview, maybe at the time that you are having this discussion, but your experiences and such will leading up to that moment will shape how the discussion goes. And I think it's more easier to be empathetic in a face to face. It's more you can be it's easier to be empathetic to the other view when it's face to face than online over text. I feel like.
We also had that whole discussion about giving the other person the benefit of the doubt, that they are mature enough to be in that conversation, to not walk away holding a grudge, walking away holding that opinion to
Mm-hmm.
you and taking that as, you know, what you would die on the hill for,
Mm.
say. Um, and that's where I struggle to do that a little more. Like the reason why I don't do that as much, I suppose, is that I don't know. I think that the other person will think of me that way forever.
Oh,
Such or something.
right.
Yeah, or even like when the debate is happening, like thinking back to the one that we had, I wasn't necessarily happy with how it went, just because I found myself like too defensive in the beginning, and
Mm.
you know, having my ego ahead of me of
Mm-hmm.
wanting to be a little more defensive because that's how these things go, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and then from there, knowing okay, but this is important, and thinking, oh my god, what if Caleb hates me for the rest of time because this is how I had this conversation? He'll never talk to me about things like this again. Obviously, these are all extremes,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
but not being able to have that with just anyone, even
Yeah.
a friend that's closer to an acquaintance than I don't know, a family member, etc.
Yeah, I do. It's like, yes, there's a certain way to go about it. And naturally, you will be defensive of your own opinion because that's what you know. And like, I guess finding out or realizing what you know is wrong or has flaws in it seems like a scary thing. And so, like, the initial reaction is to be defensive. But I feel like if you're able to like break that down, be more receptive. I feel like that's where like true or deeper learning or understanding of the world like comes from, right? Like if you go about your life with one certain lens and refuse to look through any other lens and everything you just chalk up to just the framework that you're subscribing to, then you have a very narrow view of the world. Where I feel like that's why there are a lot of things these days becoming more interdisciplinary and interconnected. It's like the combination of different lenses is what lends itself to be more complete. Like you just have a more complete theory of the world the more you allow others to kind of challenge that theory. 'Cause then you yourself, yeah, can like think deeper and strengthen your theory of the world, then find the limitations that you would otherwise be oblivious to if you just kept to that.
That's why more people should have debates like these more.
Yeah, that's TLDR basically. Just debate. Or I don't like calling it debate because it sounds so formal, but just discuss stuff with people and be open to the other point of view rather than proving that you're right or that the other person is wrong. It's like I heard about this parable, if that's the word for it. That was like five blind men moving this elephant, and the elephant stopped, and then they all tried to describe the elephant, or they just encountered an elephant and they all tried to describe it, but they were at different parts of the elephant. And so one person touched the stomach area, it's like this elephant is like a wall. Someone touched the tusk and was like, this elephant is like a sharp dagger. Someone touched the tail and said, this elephant is like a rope. Someone touched the ear and said, this elephant was like a fan. And the idea is that they were not, obviously they were all correct, but also all wrong. And it's the combination of them like putting the pieces together from each person's point of view is what made it, or point of view, they're blind. But from each person's perspective is what made the their understanding of this thing called an elephant as accurate as possible. And I was like, oh, yeah, basically what I was trying to. That's a good story to describe things. But yeah, um, you also just think more when you're in debates with people. Not even debates. Just kind of like that's what was one of the things we talked about as like benefit, positive byproduct of the podcast, right? In our podversary episode, where we're like we think more about certain things, and so, or more than we would on our own. And even here, we're not even like really debating certain things. It's just more for discussion, but that lends itself to us just thinking deeper to like have a better discussion. If it just ended on, oh, I think this movie is this, and you're like, yeah, I agree, that would be like a 1 minute episode, maybe even shorter. Um, and the other thing was writing. Um, this one was interesting. I forget how it came about for me. It might have also been a video or me looking back on something. Cause so this summer I've been helping I say helping, I haven't helped that much. But I've been giving my 2 cents to my younger sister who's now writing her college essays. Or her first draft of it, because she's going into senior year, and for the summer I think the school guidance counselor had asked all the incoming seniors to work on a first draft that they'll be able to give to her in the first week of school. And so she's been working on that, and then I've been just picking her brain a little bit as to what she wants to write and what she wants to talk about. I think maybe in that I realized maybe that I wasn't practicing what I preached, or that the I had kind of lost sight of that rawness of writing something without any aid from ChatGPT. Um, and then that also coincided with me reading Sun and Steel by Mishima, I think is his name. Um, and I basically like it was a combination of things happening in my life basically that got me to that realization of like I feel like I should be writing more. And the whole idea behind that is that writing, remember like in first year when I had that one very loosely held together notepad, and then it was just filled with like notes and stuff. Let's see, first year in uni for us was the year without Chat GPT. And so I guess like for me looking and even parts of second year, right at the beginning, I don't remember. But I remember just looking back at the time and how much like I wrote down like everything, thoughts, ideas, lecture notes, whatever, in that like basically my version of a Bible versus how much I write now. And even looking through my Notion and then looking at how frequently I used to write stuff like in 2022, 2023, as compared to like this year or last year, it's been a significant drop. I'm not saying I've gotten dumber, but I just felt like there was definitely something that was going on in me getting better at writing and therefore thinking that was a bit halted or slowed down by just being able to so easily offload some of that to ChatGPT. And so I was like, I think I should start writing again. And it doesn't have to be like for strictly academic reasons. It could just be something for me, at least just as an exercise to strengthen the mind and be better at distilling my thoughts into words. I think the better I am at doing that, the more clearly that I can think, and the more clear that I think, the more problems that I can solve that are important to me. Is basically the whole idea behind it for me.
But you said that the things we're covering in the pod are what making your writing null and void, like your ideas.
Yeah, because sometimes so I'd have an idea for something to write, and then it would also just lend itself to be a good pod topic as well. So it's like, okay, do I keep that from the pod and just write about it, or do I do both? And then what are like, is that even like, is there even a point to doing that? You know? So I don't know. I'm still like stuck on how to differentiate the two in terms of the topics that I'll write versus speak about.
Hmm. You're gonna put your writing on your website,
On
right?
my website, yeah. Because in May, I had updated my website to version 2. It's a big update because before we were in the version 1 point somethings. And in version 2, there's now a blog feature. And I just did version 2.0.1. And now it still says blog coming soon, but the first one is in draft. So version 2.0.2 should have the first block out. I don't know how frequently I want to do it monthly, maybe might be the best, but I've been working on it and I think it'll be good. I think it'll be good. I feel like not everyone will benefit from or will see the use in this exercise and it might seem useless to many because I feel like um you don't really need to do that much or think that hard or like I mean clearly if we've been able to go through our bachelor's degree and I think a lot of people can go through a 9 to 5 a lot more happier being able to offload the burden of the writing process to a chat GPT and just do we always say like free up cognitive space for the more creative tasks and sure like for most people it'll be fine and there will be now just a distinction between people who write as a hobby and people who just don't need to write. There's no like good mid and bad writer. It's just going to be people who are still good at writing because they still write and people who just don't write anymore because they don't really need to. And there are a lot of mm, inspiration from for this is how the idea of the industrial revolution quote unquote made muscles obsolete and so now there are only a certain subset of people that go to the gym to still work on that muscle versus people who do not see the use for it because they don't need to do that type of work and it's not really a necessity in their daily survival. And so yeah, I think writing will become something for the few. And this is not just my idea. This is something that has been echoed by other people that I've watched or read. But I guess it just now clicked to me, and I feel like I want to be part of the subset that still writes because I think in my life that I can see the benefit of still manually writing, just like how I have my certain motivations for going to the gym. And so that's the connection that I've made, and that's why I made the decision to. I mean, in May when I made the blog section, it wasn't exactly for this reason. I just knew that I wanted to have one because all cool people have blogs. um, but I think this is a strong enough motivation that I found for myself now that it won't be something that I just pick up and drop. Do you think you would benefit from writing or benefit from not writing?
It's always been in the back of my mind.
Mm,
Um, I had the idea for a blog before that I had the idea for a website.
mm,
But I'd say processes are similar to what you're going through now, I suppose.
mm,
Do you have an idea for like what your end product would be that you are editing to, like, when you're writing and you're cutting it down and you're cleaning it up, because it can't be perfect,
mm.
but then if you scrutinize too much, it's also bad.
I think what I realized, and also what you've helped me realize, is that I'm writing more for the process, or I should be writing more for the process, and I will be writing more for the process than the final thing that you read. Because that process of like, okay, writing, erasing, rewriting, thinking of the right word, the right way to put down what I'm thinking, or yeah, the best way to do that. That process is what I want to get better at because then that will lend itself to me thinking about it, how to solve a problem in my head and just doing it, right? That like mind muscle, mind mouth connection, strengthening that. So then, and product, yeah, I still want it to be good and be as well done as possible, but the focus will be more so on the thinking part, right? Because if it was on the end product, then yeah, I could write something and then put it into ChatGPT and say, okay, make this look better, read better, sound better. That's not the goal. So yeah. Back to the Sun and Steel book. So I've been really trying to understand this book because the author, so I think he's a poet also, and so a lot of the things he says or writes takes him. It's not that you read a sentence and get it. It's very symbolic and metaphorical and stuff. And so I've watched this morning. I watched an hour video on it. Yesterday I watched a 30-minute video. I've been going back to read it again, and I'm starting to slowly get it. And basically, so his thing is that the word language corrupts the true nature of something. When I say that this is a bottle, I have reduced all its meaning into that one single word, bottle, right? And so for him in his early days, he was, I guess, trying to nurture his mind and his writing, his prose to be as least destructive or corrosive of the nature of concepts and ideas and the material things we see as possible. And that's why he was so in love with literature and stuff. And then later in his life, he then discovered um, the body and the importance of it, and blah 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 blah. But for me, it was so funny because I mean, I started reading the book for like its main message, which was like that shift from just focusing on your intellectual training to a physical bodily training. In order to one understand your body better and a whole multitude of other reasons. But I then kind of just latched onto the beginning part of the writing, and now that has formed part of my motivation to write, which is kind of the opposite of what the book is trying to tell you, just to like um because he started as a writer and then became a gym person, and I guess I'm kind of doing the opposite. But the whole idea is to be as complete of a human being as possible, and there are things in life that you can only understand through experience.
That makes sense for you though. You were more of a gym person before a writer when you started the book.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't much of anything. I wasn't going to gym either, and that's kind of why.
Yeah, but it's nonetheless is the life that you knew of.
Yeah, but I mean, I still did write. Like, there was a reason that I got the board. Like, I guess in my head, like maybe I just didn't have the words to describe it or to motivate why I was doing it. But I bought the board because I felt that writing on it kind of helped me think better, or like why in first year I was so attached to this loosely held together notebook. I mean, I found it recently. I threw it away now, but
What?
it's in the bin there. I mean, it's very loosely held together. And also it's stuff that I don't like. I'm not. It's a nice idea to keep it, but realistically, I'm not gonna look through it ever again. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna bin it. But yeah, I guess now I just have a strong enough pillar behind it to motivate further training in that area. So speak and write, debate and right. It's like going back to when like rhetoric was the most important thing to learn and public speaking and shit.
Rhetoric?
Yeah,
What's that? I've heard
it's
of it.
like
I can't remember.
it's just a thing they said. No, um,
Fair enough.
it's rhetoric. It's like talking, arguing, debating, just how to be good and convincing in talking, because the most important jobs or things to be were like a person who leads and leads with their words and stuff.
That's very well said.
Yeah.
You should look up Hemingway's Rules of Writing. Have you seen it before?
Rules of writing.
Yeah.
What
He
are the rules to writing?
well, it's not rules, it's his guidelines, I think. They're pretty good.
Use short sentences. Write in active voice. Show, don't tell. Stop while you still know what happens next. Write one true sentence. Edit ruthlessly. Use strong verbs. Avoid adjectives and adverbs. Interesting. That's the first time I've ever seen that, to avoid adjectives and adverbs. Well, I thought the idea was to be as descriptive as possible.
I remember this was in my English classroom when I was in grade 10, and they explained it a little bit. So you use short sentences as, stop adding conjunctions that are unnecessary because people don't understand text when you write like that.
Yeah.
Use short first paragraphs. Yeah, use vigorous English. Avoid the use of adjectives. Eliminate every superfluous word. The idea was just to be straightforward, be
uses the word
concise. Huh?
I just thought it was ironic that he used the word.
Yeah. Maybe that was already him cutting it down then, but the idea of also, don't use a double negative when a
Yeah,
positive
yeah.
will do.
Mm-hmm.
Don't have these endless run-on sentences when.
I guess a lot of
That's
this
not
has
good.
been, at least for me, like internalized in years of taking English class.
Yeah. For me, I think it would be the opposite.
Huh?
For me, I think it's the opposite.
That what if you didn't? What? How is it opposite?
I like writing just, very to the point, I guess, but in recent years, they've really pushed us so much on firstly, secondly, mainly, and all these connecting words and the uses for them and M dashes, comma, uh, where I think they might like paint a better picture, but writing would still flow without those. At least it's been my experience. Also, just the moreover, therefore, in conclusion, finally, all these things are like these could be said without the use of these words. So it's been shoved more into me,
But I mean, so
the
was
excerpts.
his thing for writing in general or just narrative writing? Because right now we're talking about academic writing.
Well, I don't know. I'd probably assume maybe writing in general.
I don't know. Um, no, because I said that because also my other sister was writing for this essay writing competition about the effects of climate change in Ghana. And my first thing I noticed, because her first sentence had like 3 commas. I mean, bless her, she's 12 years old. But I was like, okay, like this sentence needs to be shorter. And I guess the way that I tried to describe it to her was like, okay, if you're given this essay that you wrote, imagine that it wasn't your essay. If you're given this essay in class to read, would you enjoy reading it? Right? And I feel like that's a good way to kind of like assess the quality of your work, right? Like if you're like trying to be something you're not, it's not gonna like come across well. So if you try to be like superfluous with the grammar that you use and very long, windy sentences, that's a hard to read for you. So let alone for someone who's like reading it and doesn't have your brain, the brain that wrote it. Um and so yeah, like I agree with most of it with being as short as possible. I think with academic writing, I mean there's a lot of holy man, there's a lot of stuff there. But I think generally the idea of like, okay, firstly, secondly, thirdly is just to like as clearly as possible outline your points and the order at which they flow if there is an order, and then in conclusion, like, okay, to demarcate, this is your concluding statement, whatever. But I do think there are times where academic writing tries to be like there's a sort of elitist aura around it where okay, you try to be as verbose as possible and as complex with your sentence structure so you seem smart. And I learned from a very early age that that was it kind of told the opposite, right? If you try too hard to be something, you're most likely not that. And funny because my meeting earlier today with Daniel, we just got our paper back from the reviewers, and one of them was like, okay, like nice but constructive. Second one was just wrote 1 paragraph and basically hated it. They didn't want it to get published. And the third one was a GPT generated answer because it was basically a summary of our basically a summary of our paper. That was all the feedback that it was, and there was a lot of hyphens, M dashes. We're like, right. And some of the words just didn't make sense in the way that they were being used. But I say that because the first one was constructive and nice, but it was also like a thing of like, okay, we want you to be a lot more complex in certain areas where like, okay, I personally kind of disagreed in the sense that I feel like for maybe a non a non-expert audience, it's good to have words as simple as possible. But I mean, if you want to get published, you kind of have to like go with what the reviewers say. So it's funny that we're talking about it now because literally like an hour, 2 hours ago, I was talking about this with Daniel. It was really funny that the third one was GPT generated.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Thanks for agreeing.
Should write more, write and debate more.